Hey everybody, I'm Jordan with Warpfire Minis, and today we've got Skaven versus Sylvaneth. Then before we jump into today's game, I wanted to talk about the battle reports being a little bit slower than normal. I'm still playing a ton of games, but the fact of the matter is that Ratling Guns right now are a little bit too good. And so I've played some lists with 12 Ratling Guns or 18 Ratling Guns, and it turns into a game that's just not very fun to play. Not fun to play against and not fun to watch. It's just not super tactical. So for today's game, we've still got one pack of 6. Like right now, we pretty much have to bring them. But we're throwing in some Doom-Flayers and some Night Runners and just trying to do some other things to show what Skaven can do. Let's jump over to the table.
So first up, I'll run you through his list. And we're going to start off, he's got 2 squads of Gossamed Archers. We got 1 here and 1 there. These are just going to be Spy Revenants. I don't actually have Gossamids. Then he's got 1 squad of 5 Tree Revenants back there in the corner. Those are the teleport guys. A squad of 6 Kurnoth bows. Those guys are really good at dropping heroes. Unfortunately, I have 2 monster heroes that cost a lot of points, so that's going to be a problem for me. Squad of 6 Spiterider Lancers. These guys just super fast. Belthanos is going to give them run and charge. They can fight first. They're also going to be a pretty big problem for me. Then he has Belthanos over there. Again, just a really good monster hero, pretty durable, gives 3 units run and charge, just anywhere on the battlefield. Not even an aura range, he just, hey, picks 3 units and boom, they're running and charging. Then we have the Lady of Vines. Her big deal is pretty much just her spell that's going to give everybody a 5-up ward to make it more durable. And then lastly is the Warsong Revenant, and just a pretty good caster. It gets some bonuses to unbind, bonuses to cast, and it's going to help him get those trees out. Then over to the Skaven side of things, I've got 2 squads of Night Runners, boom and boom. Squad of 20 Clanrats, squad of 20 Plague Monks, classic Thanquol, Deceiver, and Seer. And then the new addition today is going to be the Doom-Flayers. Those guys, I put them in the General's Regiment and usually use the season rules on them to give them anti-whatever extra keyword I want to give them. They already have anti-infantry built in, so for this one we go anti-monster, just to help them hit Belthanos and to hit Lady of Vines a little bit harder. But they're pretty sweet. 260 points is a good value. They do a bunch of attacks on the charge. They're 2 damage each. So just want to put them in a safe spot, use them to kind of counterpunch stuff. As long as you're charging them in, they're going to take a big chunk out of whatever they hit. All right, so this is what deployment looked like. For his honor guard, he chose the Kurnoth Hunters. They're going to be a priority target, so +1 to hit and wound against Thanquol. And then my honor guard unit was the Doom-Flayers for the anti-monster, so also +1 to hit and wound against them. I had to do my pre-game move, so I moved these Night Runners up. And then we moved these Night Runners up as well. And with both of these units, I made them where they're not touching the objective, but they are in a position to redeploy on it or 3 claw steps move on it. And the idea behind pushing these 2 units of Night Runners up, I wanted to put pressure on his Gossamed Archers on both sides. If he ends up giving me the turn, now I'll be able to just walk up and kill a big chunk of these guys. Then on this side, the Deceiver will help. That whole squad should die pretty easily. And just removing 2 units from the game for him early. This list doesn't have Alariel, so there's no recursion, so any unit I can fully wipe is just awesome for me. Then I was careful not to put them on the objectives. I didn't want to give him an early attack on 2 fronts. Just these guys, they die pretty easy, so we don't want to give him an easy battle tactic, make him work for it. And so after the pregame moves, from there we jump into top of 1. He chooses to take the priority, so Sylvaneth, here we go. First up is battle tactic. He chose Seize the Center. He's just going to fly Belthanos and some of those flies down to the middle to get it. And then we jump over to spells. He's not in range of the Place of Power, but Thanquol is, so I pop it to get a +1 to cast. The Lady of Vines starts his casting, and he gets the 5-up ward spell, gets it off. I try to unbind and fail. And then he goes to summon in a new tree and gets that as well. Then the Warsong goes into casting. It does the spell on these trees to give everybody an additional rend if they're near him. And then he also goes for the Gravetide and boom, gets that off too. He sets it up right there. Yep, and that's it for his hero phase. Then I spend a CP and I go for a spell, and I try to cast the Quicksilver Swords. I wanted to just put it over here next to these trees to potentially pile in to deny his tactic. And also if I could get a unit out here, it would make it where like the Tree Revenants couldn't be one of the units on the middle. I want to make him put his good stuff in the center so that I can try and hit it, then maybe double and hit it again. But roll the cast and I fail, so then we're just moving into movement. First up, he teleports those Tree Revenants down here to this corner. Then both units of Gossamids move towards me. Then he rolls a run roll for the Spite Riders, and they make it down to the middle. Lady of Vines and the Warsong just move up behind the spell. Then Belthanos, he spends a CP to auto-run him up to make it in range for the Seize the Center. And then last but not least, he teleports over the 6 Kurnoth bows over here to this wood. And then one important note that I forgot to tell you was in the hero phase, I also 3-claw stepped these monks up this way. Once he chose his battle tactic, this was kind of my counter to it. So these monks, they moved up 6 inches this way, pretending like I'm screening out Thanquol, but really I'm trying to deny the battle tactic. And we left him strung out a little bit to where the Grey Seer could stay within 3 so that he keeps guarded hero. That takes us to the end of the movement. I don't end up going for a redeploy. I'm kind of happy with my position where I am at. So we go to shooting. He has his Kurnoth bows. He can't shoot the Deceiver or the Doom-Flayers. When you're wholly on a terrain piece, they can't shoot you at all with shooting attacks, which is awesome. That's why we put those guys there. So he takes the bows and he ends up shooting at Thanquol instead. These 2 terrain pieces were places of power, so they're not obscuring. And he could draw a line to me anyway, so he's blasted. He goes for an all-out attack. I go for an all-out defense. He shoots in and just rolls terribly. He ends up doing, I think, 4 damage. Then I ward 2 of it, so only 2 damage to Thanquol. That's the dream for me. Then the Gossamids over here shoot into the Night Runners and kill 5 of them. And then they scoot back. And then the Gossamids on this side, they shoot in and do 6 damage and then scoot back as well. Their ability to be able to shoot and then move d6, just really, really cool. So then we go into the charge phase, and he charges in over here, hits the charge, and then boom, comes down to these Night Runners. Then that's the end for me. I go for a counter charge, and we counter charge the monks. We roll a 5, we make it into the trees, which was our plan all along. And so what we did there is we charged the tree, but we stayed outside of 3 inches of everybody else. I'm going to be able to try and pile into him in the combat phase, engage these Spiterider, where only maybe 3 or 4 of them are going to hit. If we can live through that combat, we'll deny his tactics, so that's the plan. So then we're jumping over to the combat phase. He rolls for his trees and does 2 mortal wounds to the Plague Monks. Due to coherency, I have to kind of take them in a weird way. And then the fighting begins. He fights his Gossamids down here into these guys and kills 3 of them. We have 2 left. I go ahead and pile these guys back in and fight. We do 1 damage. And then, moment of truth, we pile in the Plague Monks and just barely get within 3 of those Spiterider. And we're trying to get as many bodies on the objective as we can as well. If there's a world where we can prevent him from taking the objective, that rules. But I'm sending all the attacks into the trees, and we do 2 damage. And then the Spiterider pile in and fight. And then due to them not charging, their damage is really low, so they end up doing 5 damage. But one bad thing is just due to having them strung out like this, I can't purposely break coherency. I would have loved to just remove these 5, but I can't. So we end up having to take 1 from down here, then I have to take some bodies off the objective, which ends up killing just enough to be able to take that center objective from me. But he is still in combat, so in a turn, he's going to fail his battle tactic. So he's just going to get 1, 2 more, no tactic, 6 points. We'll jump over to Skaven, bottom of 1. All right, my first battle tactic, I go ahead and go for an Ordained Charge. I'm going to pick this objective. Since these guys are tied up in combat, the Clanrats are going to easily be able to charge and just take this objective. So we're going for that. We'll jump into spells. Thanquol had healed the 2 damage he took last turn. And he goes to cast a spell. I go for his no commands onto the Spiterider, and I miscast, and I take 3 mortal wounds. So now he's done casting spells. We go for the Grey Seer. I go for a Pendulum, and I don't get it off. And then the Deceiver goes for the cogs and gets unbound, so no magic for me, that's done. He doesn't try to cast a spell, so we're boom, just jumping straight into movement. The Clanrats shift over here. The monks, I go and retreat out, but we leave them within 3 of the trees, so I'm going to be able to pile right back in. And at this point, he only had 1 CP left between all attacks and all defenses and so on, so I didn't have to worry about a counter charge, which is why I retreated here. And I also wanted to make room for Thanquol to come up. Then we shoot Thanquol up that way. Deceiver moves over his 10. Then the Doom-Flayers, we end up rolling like a 12-inch move plus 3, so 15. We're going to send them over there into those Gossamids. And the Night Runners move outside of 3 as well. Then for the Grey Seer, we got these guys looming over here. So I keep him on the objective so they can't just teleport on it. I just move him over here to this edge to try and make the charge and the move longer. End of move, we go and we drop in the Ratling Guns. End of move, he's got that 1 CP left. He tries to redeploy the Spiterider to maybe get out of range of the Ratlings, but he rolls a 1, so it's not happening. So we go to the shooting phase, and first up, I go for the Ratling Guns, and we're going to shoot those into the Spiterider. I couldn't quite get range on Belthanos, So we roll our number of attacks, and I roll the lowest I've ever rolled in my life. I think I do like 41 attacks on 18d6, so just well below average. But I did get the Warpcog bonus, so I'm +1 to wound. I all-out attack anyways, but we go ahead and shoot into the Spiterider, and we end up only doing like 7 damage, which kills 1. From there, we've got the Deceiver and Thanquol, and I'm gonna try and charge it and tie up these bugs, or pile in here and tie up the bugs. So I'm not real worried about him. So I put both shots into Belthanos, thinking if I can chip him down enough, I could charge both those guys and just try and drop Belthanos this turn. But shoot everything left into him, and I do 3 damage. Notably, the Lady of Vines was in range of all these guys, so they have 5-up wards, which was helping them take less damage than normal. Over on this side, these guys shoot and kill a Gossamid. They've got shoot in combat. And over there, same idea, but we kill 2. Then from there, we're going to jump into the charge phase. We charge in the Night Runners and the Doom-Flayers, both make it in. Clanrats make it in. Then the Deceiver makes it into Belthanos. We roll the charge for Thanquol, and we make it in, and I put him over here into these bugs and into the trees. We got a plan, we'll see if it works out. We made sure to stay outside of 3 of Belthanos here as well. Then we jump into Rampages. Thanquol rolls for his and rolls a 1, so it doesn't do anything. Then for the Deceiver, we go for his 4-up teleport, and we hit it. And boom, we're going to hop over here into the bows. Then into the combats. I fight with the Deceiver first, and I put everything into the Kurnoth. If I could kill a couple of these guys, that'd be great. But we roll pretty low, and we only kill 1. Fights back into Thanquol, who takes like another 4 damage. Then I go with the Doom-Flayers over there, and we wipe out those Gossamids. He fights with these guys and only kills 1 ninja, so there's still 1 left. I fight back with the Night Runner and these guys, and we kill the Gossamids. And then I'm left looking at Thanquol and these Plague Monks. And I could kill a bug, probably, maybe 2 on my best day. But now in a dream world, if I could kill this tree, it would leave the bows locked in combat with the Deceiver, and so they wouldn't be able to shoot next turn. If the trees live, they're going to be able to just fade away and still shoot. So we end up dumping Thanquol's attacks and all the Plague Monk attacks into the tree. So we pile in, do everything we can, but we only do 8 damage. The new trees having the 5-up ward as well, really big benefit to Sylvaneth, so they've got 10 damage on them, 2 wounds left. Which now means end of turn, he fades the bows away. And end of turn stuff for me, Thanquol heals 3. And then it goes to scoring. I've got 1, 2 more. I got my tactic of taking this objective, so I'm gonna score 10 points. We go for a priority roll, and I win the roll. Looking at it here, with these bugs tied up in combat, Belthanos right there, I think that I'm probably gonna be able to kill enough stuff to just go ahead and finish it. So Skaven double turn, here we go. Another factor into taking the double here was, this is Jaws of Gallet, so he can remove an objective after he finishes scoring. So if I'd given him the turn, he's gonna score probably 10 points, remove an objective, and make it harder for me to score. So with him failing his battle tactic turn 1, just gives me a little bit more wiggle room to take this double, just go for kill and stuff and feel good about it. So we're gonna jump straight into spells because there's no battle tactic. First thing up, I unbind the Gravetide. Thanquol goes for his no commands onto Belthanos and gets it. Then we also cast the Cogs, put it right over here behind Thanquol, and boom, hit the -1 to hit for everybody. So ideally I can have both bigs within that range going into his turn. From there we're gonna jump into movement, go for the Doom-Flayers, and they roll pretty good, so we're gonna be outside of 3 inches of Belthanos on this side. Night Runners in the back, we just keep on this objective so he can't teleport and take it. Gracier's cool where he is. These guys we shift over a little bit. It's always good to take your Ratlings and put them in an inconvenient spot. So I don't want him to charge them and be able to take an objective. So I scoot him over here. And like, if he wants to take his units away from the game to deal with these, he can go for it. Just kind of make them put themselves in bad positions to get them. The Deceiver, we move him up this way. And we put him wholly on this terrain piece. And again, that's gonna make it where he can't covering fire with those Kurnoth bows into him. And then I'm still gonna have a short charge because I can charge into the tree and then try to pile into something else. Clanrats, we move up that way as well. When we did a run with those guys, we're gonna just try and put some pressure on that back objective. Keep in mind, he's gonna remove one of these from the game, so I kind of need to be everywhere. This guy just shifts to the middle, again to prevent the teleports. And that's the movement. There's no real good redeploys for him, so we're just jumping straight into shooting. We roll for these guys, we dump everything into Belthanos, and we leave him on 2 wounds remaining. Thanquol with his flamethrowers can't shoot in combat. I don't know why. And then the Deceiver shoots into the bugs. We're just trying to take out Belthanos and the bugs this turn would be great. And we kill one guy with those couple wounds that they had on him. There's no good covering fire for him here. So we're just going to jump straight to charge. The Doom Wheels make it in. Then for the Deceiver, we charge him in. And I end up charging him this way. I could try to make a play on the Lady of Vines, but with the 5-up ward, I'm likely not going to kill her, then she's going to heal. So we send him over this way. We're going to pile him into these bugs. The Clanrats, they ran, so that's going to be it for all of the charges. And then we go for Rampages. Thanquol fails his again. Deceiver fails his, and I'm not going to go for the 3-up to run away. And then Belthanos, he ends up hitting his, and so he gets a teleport. He does 3 mortal wounds to the Doom-Flayers. And he did a good job. He got himself within 3 inches of these Ratling Guns. I'm just going to make sure that I fight there first. Like, I need to kill this guy. If I don't kill him, he's going to take a big chunk out of these guys. But no big deal. We go to the combat phase. I fight with these guys first. Since I charge this turn, I do get that extra anti-monster. So all this stuff is Rend 2, and we easily kill Belthanos. Next up, he fights with the bugs. And he piles them all in and gets most of the attacks into the Deceiver. And he ends up spiking really, really hard. The extra Rend from the tree still being alive, he ended up doing 8 damage to the Deceiver. Just, he rolled great and I didn't that turn. Then we just go for the rest of our pile-ins. Thanquol piles in a little bit and kills a bug. Clanrats I piled down just a little bit. They put all their attacks into the trees and we kill them. And then the Deceiver piles in as well. Fights into the bugs and we kill one more. The monks had piled in earlier and fought into the tree to help do some damage to him, so I couldn't get into the bugs with them. But that'll take us to the end of the turn. The Deceiver, he heals 1. Thanquol heals 3. And then the bugs, they end up being in range of the Lady of Vines, so they fade away. And then for scoring, I've still got my 1-2 more. No tactic that round because I doubled, so 6 points. Jumps over to Sylvaneth, bottom of 2. He goes for take their land. He's just gonna move these guys over here. Pretty easy. Then he starts casting his spells. He doesn't get his 5-up ward off this turn, but he does get the mortal wounds within range. And he does a couple mortal wounds to Thanquol. I spend a CP and I cast a spell, and I go for a Skitter Leap from Thanquol. I get it, and so we take the Deceiver. And so we plop him way over here, outside of charge range of those Spiterider. And now that he's wholly on this piece of terrain again, the bows won't be able to shoot him to finish him off. That was going to be a really easy kill for him. And that's an important piece for me later in the game, just being able to be mobile. So boom, got him to safety. And then we'll jump into move it. The bugs and Lady of Vine move towards the center. And before I forget it, my 3 claw steps this turn was I moved these guys back a little bit. Just trying to get out of range of those bows. The bows go ahead and move up there 5. Then his last move, he ran these guys, but rolled pretty low. So he just sent them up this way. And that'll take us to the shooting phase. I don't have any CP left here, so he shoots the Kurnoth Hunters into Thanquol. I am -1 to hit from the cogs, but he just spikes out of his mind for the 5 Kurnoth guys, and I think does like 18 damage to Thanquol. So boom, he's dead. Counter shot, I don't have anything good in range, so just straight to charges. Lady of Vines and the bugs make it in. And the War Song makes it down here into these Clanrats. I fight with the Clanrats, and we do like 4 damage to the War Song, which was pretty good. He then fights back with the Lady of Vines and kills all but 6 Plague Monks. Then the War Song fights back. She piles in, can't quite get on the objective. Fights in the Clanrats and does literally 0. So pretty sweet. And then our monks, they fight back and do 2 damage to the Lady of Vines. That takes us to the end of the turn stuff. The Deceiver heals 3. And for scoring, he's just gonna have 1, 2 in his tactic. So he's only gonna score 8 points. Then after scoring, he also gets to remove an objective from the game for being the underdog. So he takes this objective over here and boom, it's gone. Then we go for a priority roll into 3. He wins the priority roll. And looking at it, just the way that this mission works, if he takes the double here, he's gonna get to remove another objective because he's still the underdog this turn. So he decides he's gonna take the turn, take another objective, and try and make it hard for me to score points later on. All right, so again, no tactic here with the double. So he just goes straight to spells. The War Song tries to cast and miscast instantly, takes 2 mortal wounds. The Lady of Vines fails to get her 5-up ward off, but then does hit the Horde Clear spell into the Clanrats and kills 6 of those. Goes over to me. I do my 3 claw on these Night Runners in the back. I'm going to shift them towards the corner just to get set up for a take the flanks later on. And the cogs had disappeared when Thanquol died. And I also spent a CP, and we heal 4 wounds on the Deceiver. He's back in business. Then we'll skip over to movement. The Tree Revenants, they teleport over here, outside of 9 of this little ninja. And then I also have to get better about telling you guys about these Gnaw holes. I had put one down over this way, and I got one in the back this round. Then for the bows, they move over here onto this objective, and the flies run over there as well. That takes us to the end of the movement, and I go for a redeploy on the Deceiver. I just know next turn he's probably going to remove this objective, so I want to try and just get closer to the action, but we get a 4. And then shooting begins. He shoots these guys down into the Clanrats. I all out defense, and he ends up killing 6. Then I was in range with the Ratling Guns here to covering fire into the Lady of Vines. We do 4 damage. So then we go into the actual combats, and these guys had also made the charge. They hit a 9 from teleport to make it into this guy. And the Warsong fights first, piles down. She fights and kills all but 2 Clanrats. The monks go ahead and fight and do 1 more damage to the Lady of Vines. She fights back and kills him. And these guys had killed the ninja as well. But the big swing was these 2 Clanrats piled down, fought into the Warsong and killed it. It had the Seed of Rebirth, so he gets to roll a dice. On a 3-up, it stays alive, but he rolled a 2. And so boom, the Warsong is dead. So then end of turn, he had piled these guys on, so he had 5 bodies. I've got 2 Clanrats. I roll my dice to get the recursion back, and I only get 2 Clanrats back. Which, with the banner, gives me 5 bodies on the objective to his 5, but he also has a banner, so he does take the objective. So we go to scoring at the end. He's going to score 6 points, 1-2 more. No tactic because it was a double. Then after scoring, burns the objective on me. So we'll jump into Skaven, bottom of 3. I'm going to go for Slay the Entourage. The Lady Vines is hurt. She's been healing stuff. Sylvaneth has some sort of healing mechanic, so maybe she healed another 3 there. But between the Ratlings and the Deceiver, we're going to try and kill her for our battle tactic. So for spells, we get the swords out from this guy. We set it up 9 inches away from the Lady of Vines. The Deceiver tried to cast a spell. I don't remember which one, but I failed. And then he tried to cast his 5-up ward spell just as a last-ditch effort. Didn't get that off either. From there, we'll go to movement. The Deceiver moves down 10. The Grey Seer, I go for a run, and I roll a 6, so he's going to boom, get up here on this objective. Swords can't move, but we go ahead and shift these guys up. Make sure he can't redeploy out of this shooting range. I go ahead and shift these Clanrats over this way. Just staying outside of 3. And those Night Runners just keep over here even farther in the corner, just setting up tactics for later. End of movement. He knows I'm going to dump a bunch of shots into the Lady of Vines for my tactic. So he goes for a redeploy on these guys and gets a big 6. Then from there we go to the shooting phase, and between the Ratling Guns and the Deceiver, boom, Lady of Vines is dead. Battle tactic scored. Then at the end of the turn, I spend my last CP and get in 5 more Ninja Rats. We stick them over here on the objective. And we get 2 Clanrats back. So end of turn, we've got 1, 2 more. We got our battle tactic, 10 points. Go for another priority roll. Sylvaneth get it. They take the turn, so Sylvaneth top of 4. First up, battle tactic, he goes for attack on 2. He's going to try and just take these 2 objectives away from me. He measured this out ahead of time. I'm going to need a 4-inch redeploy to touch that objective. But if I can get that Deceiver on, it's going to make life difficult for him. He's got no hero left at this point, so I spend a CP and I go for a Skitter Leap. Boom, we hit it on the Deceiver, and boom, I just go and set him on the objective. Now his battle tactic's going to be tough. So for him looking at it now, if he sends the bugs down, I'm going to covering fire and kill him. And the Kurnoth, they can't make it onto the objective, so the tactic is going to be failed at this point. So instead, he decides to send the bugs down this way and at least try and take this stuff out. Then the bows move up a little bit. So then for me looking at it and knowing again he's going to remove another objective from me, there's a world where he shoots the Kurnoths into the Deceiver, spikes, and kills him. And that would just be kind of the worst case scenario for me, because then it's going to be hard for me to be mobile enough to get to his back objectives. So I go ahead and I redeploy these guys, knowing that I can redeploy and then covering fire. And so I roll a 6, so we go and shoot these guys up this way. And so now the pressure is on him. If he chooses to shoot the Deceiver, he may not kill him. And then these Ratling Guns are for sure going to kill his 2 bugs, which he needs to like take this objective down here. So Now he's going to target the Ratling Guns with the bows instead. I know the Deceiver is going to be safe, and he's going to be easily able to get to these other objectives, which is what I wanted anyways. But the Kurnoth, they shoot the Ratlings, and they do great again. He ends up doing 18 damage exactly, which kills all 6 of them. I was hoping to have 1 or 2 alive. Now there's no covering fire. He charges the bugs down and charges the Revenants in. Then we go to combat, and long story short, he kills both of these squads. Go to scoring. End of turn, he's got 1, 2, and more, 6 points, but he didn't take 2 objectives because of the Skitter Leap. So just 6 for the turn. Skaven, bottom of 4. For me, easy battle tactic this turn. I always put 1 Gnaw in the enemy's territory, so late game, I can just take their land. I can bring a unit back to life and score that one, no problem. But the problem was, at the end of his turn after scoring, boom, this objective is also gone. And so I've got to make a play to get back there onto that objective. It's the only thing that matters right now. This one's going to be a little bit too hard to get to. So spell-wise, we go for a Skitter Leap on the Grey Seer. We drop him back there in that terrain feature. That's going to be wholly within 6 of both edges, so I got to easy take the flanks for the last turn. Then we got the Deceiver. I know he's going to covering fire me here with those bows. I got to go towards that objective, so there's just nothing I can do about it. So we move down, get outside of 3. He redeploys to make my charge a little bit longer and gets a 3, so it's going to be a 6-inch charge. He goes for the covering fire and ends up doing 4 damage to the Deceiver. Charge phase, I charge in, hit it. Rampage, I hit the 4-up teleport. For the teleport, I just swing him back that way to be farther away from the bugs for the next turn. And then just combat-wise, I fight into the Kurnoth, and we roll pretty low again. We only kill 1 Kurnoth. He piles in and fights me and does a couple more damage, but then I heal a couple damage at the end of the turn. So there we are. I'm not going to hold any objectives because so many Kurnoth lived. Didn't have any kind of play to get this one. But I do spend a CP at the end of the turn, and I bring back 3 Ratling Guns on my Gnaw to score my battle tactic. So for me, 4 points, that's it. Priority roll into the last turn. Sylvaneth win it again. Top of 5. His battle tactic this turn is going to be Do Not Waver. He's just going to fight my Gnaw down here, fight with the Kurnoths and score it. Going to be pretty easy. So only other important things this turn is I got my 3 claw step move, and I do that with the Grey Seer. Push him towards the objective. We're going to try and redeploy onto it to help give me more body count. In an ideal world, the Deceiver, he can try and kill more of them this turn. It's not going to matter, but just extra things in case. And then I know deep in my heart that that objective is getting picked up off the board at the end. So the Deceiver, if he kills the Grey Seer, the Deceiver can still help me score flanks if I need him to. Movement-wise, he just moves these guys down here next to the Gnaw. End of move, I redeploy the Grey Seer to get him on. Then we go to the combat phase. The bows can't shoot in combat. I got no covering fires. So I go for my Rampage. I wanted to try and teleport to this side so that I could make a play on this objective next turn, but I failed the teleport roll. He fights with the Kurnoth first, does a couple more damage to the Deceiver. Then I fight back, and I kill 2 of the Kurnoth this time. So boom, we're going to take the objective. He fights down here, kills the Gnaw. And scoring, he's going to hold 1 objective plus his battle tactic for 6. So now going into 5, the score is 32 Sylvaneth to 30 for Skaven. I just need to score my battle tactic to seal the game off here. He removes this objective, but just doesn't matter. The Grey Seer moves over, take the flanks with the 2 units, 4 points. We just call that a game. So overall, pretty good one. Lots of swings back and forth, but we'll chalk it up. It's another win for the Rats.
So that's it for that one, guys. We'll see what they do with Ratling Guns. We got another update coming in maybe a month or so. So the fingers crossed we get some cool changes there. But stay tuned. I think I might play a different army next just to give you guys a different look. And then as always, if you need models, check us out at warpfirevideos.com. Thank you.